Hello everyone and welcome back to the Nut House. Today I want to share with you a recipe that I use to make pie crust. Now, pie crust has always been a struggle for me. I cook from scratch all the time, as you can see in my videos. However, pie crust either ended up cracked or it wouldn't come together, but I have found the perfect recipe. So if you struggle with pie dough like I do, this is a great one to use. We're going to start with a butter crust. We're going to put 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour into our pan, into our bowl, I should say. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And along with that baking powder, we're going to add a teaspoon of salt if we're using unsalted butter, but if we're using salted butter like I am, you would use 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So we're going to go ahead and just get that mixed together and stir it up with our blending fork. Now you can use a pastry cutter, your hands, you can use a food processor, but I do not want to dirty up any more dishes than I need to, so we're just going to use this blending fork and a grater. Now we're going to take 1 stick of butter, and I'm going to dip the butter into the flour, and then I'm going to grate it. Now it's important that you keep dipping it in the flour so it won't stick too much, and we'll just keep doing that until we get the entire thing grated up. Now, if you're looking for a good grater, this one is actually the best one I've ever used. So leave me a comment down below and I will give you the name of it. It is a workhorse in the kitchen. So we're going to keep doing this until we get it grated up, and then we will add our milk in. I'm going to try to get all that butter out because butter is really expensive and I don't want to waste any of it. So we're just going to move this around a little bit and get the flour and the butter incorporated together. And then I'm going to add some cold whole milk here. Now, it's going to take about probably 5 to 8 tablespoons, and I will say that the butter crust recipe uses a little bit more, but it's going to depend on your location and the weather and your flour, how it absorbs the the milk. So you're going to just use as much as you need, and I'm going to start with like 5 tablespoons, and I'm looking to be able for my dough to come together and there not be dry parts everywhere. So I'm going to check that by squeezing the dough, making sure to see if it will combine, and if it does not, then I'll add some more. So that's what I'm going to do next. And I noticed when I squeezed the dough, it didn't want to come together like I wanted it to. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few more tablespoons and see if I can get it to combine. If it's too dry, then I found that it will just crack. But if it's too wet, it'll stick and won't be, it'll be kind of a tough crust. So we're just going to do it, work the dough until I can get all of those little bits incorporated. And here I'm just adding just a little splash to help get the rest of this butter flour mixture up, because like I said before, I don't want to waste any of it for my dough. So once I have this dough combined, I'm going to put it in either saran wrap, or this is just some cling wrap that I have. or you can put it in a Ziploc bag, and I'm going to let it sit in there for at least an hour to kind of firm up. Now, some of this dough that I made, I left in there for a few days, and it still worked beautifully in the crust. So now we're going to make the lard pie crust, which is the exact same way. We start with 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and then because lard is not salty, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. And I will say I'm using Himalayan pink salt. I would not use iodized salt, but that's totally up to you if you want to or not. So we're going to mix these up, and then we're going to get 1/2 cup of lard and put that in the bowl, and then we're going to blend that up really well before we add the milk. So I don't purchase vegetable shortening or Crisco or anything like that. So if you want to try that in this recipe, it may work the same. I just, we don't eat that, or we don't eat any seed oils here. But I'm not judging you if you do. That's totally fine. I mean, everything is so expensive nowadays. We should not judge others for what brand of food we buy. We should be just thankful that we even have food. So you can try substituting that if you want to, like if you eat margarine instead of butter, you can try that and see if it works, and let me know if it does. I'm not sure, but we don't typically buy that, so I have no way to let you know. Now we're going to add in the milk. Now this one takes a little bit less milk than the butter one does, but you will just do the same thing. Squeeze it, move it around and make sure it's combined well, and then we're going to get that in the oven. We're going to get it in the refrigerator to rest, just like we did the butter one. So in my next video, I'm going to show you how to take this same pie crust recipe, and we're going to make some homemade Pop-Tarts, which are super delicious. And you can add all kinds of jams and jellies or whatever you want into them, and they taste so much better than the stuff you buy at the store, which is really basically just sugar. So now we're going to cover this up and get this in the refrigerator for at least an hour or so. You can leave it for days if you would like. Or you can even put it in the freezer. So here we are on another day, and we're going to roll out the pie crust. Now I'm going to get my all-purpose flour out and make sure that I liberally flour my surface, because I don't want it to stick and crack and all of those things. I'm going to go up and get my bench scraper, because I might need that, or some kind of spatula, so that I can lift any parts that might stick. But on this day, it did not stick on me too bad. I'm going to cut it in half, because this makes 2 pie crust, and then we're going to roll it from the center out. Now with the pie crust, I want to make sure that I'm constantly moving it and making sure that it's not sticking, because if you're doing that, then you're almost guaranteed that you're not going to have any stickage, and you see how it's not sticking at all. And if it does start to stick, you'll just add a little bit more flour, and we're going to roll it to the size of my pie pan that's right there in the back. So I haven't decided what kind of pie I'm going to make with this. Maybe a chicken pot pie, or a roast beef pot pie, or even a banana cream pie sounds really, really good. I go ahead and get this into the pie pan, and then I'm just going to take my time and make sure that it fits inside. And then I see where some parts need a little help. This is a rustic pie crust, okay? We're from the country here. This is not professional. Anyway, we're gonna just tear off some of it, and it's like Play-Doh. Just tear off a piece and then stick it where you want it, and make it fit, make it work. I'm gonna take some of my kitchen scissors and cut the excess off around, just around the pie pan, just the overlapping stuff, as you'll see here. And then we'll crimp it. Now you can use a fork, you can just leave it like this, or you can use your fingers like I do. I'm sure there's some pretty fancy things you could do, and I would love to learn, but I just feel like that I have got a pie crust that I actually can make. So I'm going to learn some new stuff, but this is how I'm going to do. Fold it under, and then we'll start to crimp it once we've got it folded under. So I hope that if you're really bad at making pie dough like I was, that you'll give this recipe a try. So here I'm going to crimp it. I'm just using 2 fingers, and then I'm going to, well, I don't know how to explain it, but like I'm doing on the video, you're just going to put 2 fingers and then press with the other finger in the center. It's really easy to do. And see, it's that easy to make a homemade pie crust or homemade pie dough. This is going to be perfect for the upcoming holidays. I want to thank you all for joining me today as I show you the easiest pie crust, and it's super tasty as well. See you on the next one.